Welcome to Running for Real, a global community with a shared love and curiosity for running. Together we reconnect with the reasons why we love to run and discover ways it helps us become better people. Whether it's the quiet moments of a morning run while the rest of the world still sleeps, or befriending the strangers next to you at the start line of a race. We are here to connect with others who see running as the common thread that weaves our lives together. Come join me, Tina Muir, as I talk with people from all walks of life, united by a love of running. Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 353 of the Running for Real podcast. Thank you for joining me today. I'm excited that you are here and excited to welcome you to this episode. I actually recorded this a few months ago and I've been very excited about sharing it for a while now. Because it is almost time for his book to come out. Slow AF Run Book Club by Martinus Evans comes out in just a few days. And I wanted to share this with you because I think this is a really powerful book. This is an incredible human who has done so much for our community, done so much for making people feel like they belong in the space, regardless of what speed you run, regardless of what you look like. I really love Martinus for all he has been able to do in this community. And I'm just cheering him on for this book. The Slow AF Run Club book is going to be a game changer in the space. And you're going to hear some parts of his story today, some parts of his journey. We're also going to talk about some of the elements within the book that I felt are important, including, as you know, if you've been a long time listener, the conversation around being a real runner is something that we have had, a conversation that we have had many times before. And I just think this is a very important episode. So I am looking forward to sharing this with you. And I hope you enjoy it. If you do, and if you think it will speak to people in your community, make sure you share it. And of course, make sure you go get a copy of his book if this speaks to you. By purchasing a copy of his book, you are going to not only support him, but support the community and say that this is needed. This kind of book was definitely needed. And I'm just excited for him to see how it goes. So, one more thing, and be sure to go join his online community, which has 25,000 members. So you can find that online, the Slow AF Run Club. I'll put a link in the show notes. So let's go meet Martinus. Thank you to AG1 from Athletic Greens for sponsoring the Running for Real podcast and for supporting me with the work that I'm doing. They recently they funded the Red S recovery resource that I created, which I really appreciated, and they just care about the community. So I wanted to start by highlighting that. But what is AG1? Well, AG1 allows you to take control of your health, give your body what it truly needs. And now there's one serving of AG1 delivers this high impact blend of 9 health products, multivitamin, minerals, probiotics, adaptogens, and more that is designed to support your gut health, support recovery, energy boost, and more. So everything we need as runners. As a friend of mine, you can get a 1-year free supply of vitamin D3 plus K2, another critical component we need as runners, as well as from keeping us healthy from getting sicknesses. Plus, you're going to get 5 free travel packs with your order. So when you are traveling to races, you can have those with you. I do not miss days of Athletic Greens. And if I do, I notice it and I miss it and I crave it when I get home. So I have so easily slipped this into my routine. It is the one habit that I am actually able to keep. And I know that it's taking care of my gut health, my immunity, my energy, and my recovery. Those are all things we as runners need. It's got 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food source ingredients in one serving. And it tastes really good. It's almost got like a pineapple-y flavor to it. My kids love it, and if a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old love it, that is saying something. So you can go to athleticgreens.com/Tina. That's athleticgreens.com/Tina to get that special offer as a friend of mine. Go check out AG1. You will see that the hype is for real. The reasons are true, and you're going to love it. I know I do. Martinus, I am so excited to welcome you to the Running for Real podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Tina, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we talked about this, 4 or 5 months ago?
Yes.
And we've had it planned for a while. I loved meeting you in person. Have I met you twice now or just once? Once, but maybe felt like twice because it was so much packed into one weekend.
Exactly.
Yes, that was fun, and I'm excited that we are getting close. As of when everyone listens to this, it will be just a few days away from launch date for you, which is very exciting. Your Slow AF Run Club book is coming out into the world very soon. Before we get onto that, actually, on that note, I want to hear, how are you feeling now? Because as you know, I'm just a few months behind you. And so for me, it still feels far away, but I'm sure for you, you're like, oh, it's here. Like it's closing in now quickly. So how are you feeling?
Tina, I'm fighting for my life. So it is great times. It's sometimes times of uncertainties. There's a lot of emotions up and down, but overall, I'm still having a good time.
When you say that, is that a lot of just you've put so much of yourself into the book and out there, the emotions? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's both. So I'm planning my own book tour. It's me. So I have since I'm planning my own book tour, I'm having 5 to 6 calls a day. So it's a emotional roller coaster of yes, somebody likes me enough to host a book club, host a book tour stop. And then it's in the same sentence, oh, y'all can't or y'all won't host me. So it's like that. And the same thing with pitching podcasts and just all of that stuff. And then I had the opportunity to record my audiobook. And that in itself is a trip. I don't know if you're going to have the opportunity to do it, but it's an emotional roller coaster as well.
Oh, interesting. Although mine doesn't go as deep into I think mine's kind of more of a step back. So I do hope to someday do a version of would you consider yours an autobiography? I suppose it kind of is, right? Memoir?
It's part memoir, part how-to, part workbook. So each chapter
but there's still a lot of you in there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm interested to see how I feel doing it because I feel like mine's more of the how-to than anything else, but we'll see. I'm sure it's going to be exhausting. I've heard that. And the idea of sitting reading on a screen for hours on end is definitely not sounding very appealing. So we'll see, but thank you for sharing that. And anything else you want to share about reading the audiobook? Because people are very interested in this because a lot of people love the Audible versions now, but is there anything other under the hood behind the scenes that you want to share when it comes to the audiobook?
Yes, it is a trip reading your own words. And there were times where I got frustrated at myself because I'm reading this and me be like the way I have it in my head versus the way that's coming out, there's a disconnect. So I'm very long-winded when it comes to writing. So there were times where I had sentences that were 4 lines long with no breaks, no commas, no nothing. And me being like, why, Martinus? Why did you do this? And then me getting frustrated is why did nobody tell me, hey, break this up?
Yeah.
So I would say that's the thing.
Definitely.
A lot of drinking water and a lot of people telling you in your ear, can you repeat that over again? Or can you say it like this instead?
Yeah, that's going to mess with your psyche. It's not only is your inner critic telling you you're not good enough, but you've also got someone literally saying, do that again, over and over again. Whew. It's, but worth it though, because people really love hearing it in someone's own words and just really bringing home that message. So I love that. Okay. I want to move on to the book, to your story a little bit more. Now you are, as you've said, you are on a lot of podcasts, you are around a lot of places, so people probably will hear a lot of the elements of the basics. So I don't want to really go over that. But I do want to begin with some kind of realization and epiphany. And I know you have the one, which is the reason for the whole book. It's the reason you're running right now. I'm going to leave that to other channels to share the fact of someone telling you couldn't do this, someone telling you that you weren't good enough. That's what started off this journey. But if you had another one for us, because yours is so blinding. Usually for people, they have to dig deep, but yours is like the reason you're here. So if you could go a level deeper with it or something different, what would you share with us?
Yes. So the first time I ran a race, the first 5K I ever ran. So peep this. The first 5K I ran, I lined up behind everybody. Like I was the absolute last person at the starting line. Like
that was intentional.
Fast runners, yes, intentional. Fast runners, nope. Mid pack, nope. Back of the pack, nope. I was behind moms with double strollers with dogs attached to them. I thought, and nothing against them, but I thought a mom with a double stroller and a dog attached to the stroller was going to run the race faster than me. And when the gun went off and I'm walking and I'm running and I'm passing these people and I almost get a little frustrated, like, damn, these people are like slow, they're in my way. And when I finally got into my stride, like that's when it hit me like, shit, I'm a runner. Like, look at me pass people.
You and remember that was the thought first coming
through? Yes. Yeah. Yes. Like that was the first time that I really seen myself as like running for real, for lack of a better words, like unintended. Like that's when I seen myself like literally running for real, is running that first race and me being like, nah, like this lady on the stroller and the dog is attached to the stroller is going to beat me or like just run faster than me. And then like the gun goes off and like instantly, like I'm passing people that I thought who would be faster than me. And then like, I'm like, oh, like I'm really doing this. So that is definitely an epiphany for me of when I really noticed that I was a real runner.
After you had that thought, did any other counter thought come through to like go against that? Or were you able to follow that through for the rest of that 5K?
Oh, I was fully elated. The 5K we did, it was more like a down and back. So on the way back, like my halfway point, for the faster runners, they're giving me high fives, they're cheering me on. So it was just a great experience of like, I'm running, I'm enjoying this, and like people were cheering me on. And then when I crossed the finish line, I just had like this biggest smile on my face because I really enjoyed it. And I think for me, that was like the itch and the bug to say like, oh, I'm running more races.
But it sounds like you had already, even in the race, you were already registering that you were going to do this again. Whereas most people, it takes that finish line before that they realize that. So I love that you had it even before you got to that point. That's just so cool to hear.
Yeah.
I want to actually continue down this path for a little bit more, because that part of your book really spoke out to me when you talked about like what people think of as a traditional runner. And this is something that I have talked about endlessly, about like, if you run, you are a runner, period. Like there's no qualifications here in my eyes. However, I recognize that, I don't know, I would, this might be too early on in the conversation, but as you and I are already friends, I feel like maybe we can go there. I myself am kind of literally the epitome, the traditional runner, like recreated, right? I'm like formerly athlete. I'm a white woman. I'm like small in every way. I can run fast. So I would love to hear, when you had that amazing experience, you recognized that you were a real runner. Have you ever had frustration when it comes to people like myself who talk about this concept, like you are a real runner? Or do people have frustrations with me saying this? Because it's like, well, okay, it's all right for you to say that, because you're like who the clothes were made for and what the books were, who wrote the books and all those things. I just love your opinion there if you're comfortable sharing it.
Absolutely. So, yes, I've had multiple experiences from, as I like to call them, elitist runners, right? In my head, I deem these people who have chips on their shoulders because, they may have made it to Olympic trials, but like that was it for their running. So now they feel like they have to take power into running and feel like, well, like this is where my prime was at. And like, if you're not there, then like you're not a runner. Right. And there has been times where I just spoke up for myself saying, hey, I ran this race and in the back, they ran out of water or they ran out of cups or, they took down, they took down a sign. So I got lost. And some runners' response, like these elitist runners, is like, well, maybe you should have took running seriously. Like maybe you should have lost weight and gotten faster. And maybe you wouldn't necessarily have to experience this versus being like, oh man, that sucks. Like you paid your money and you should have got the same fair treatment.
Yeah.
And I think that's just crazy that the
like
fact
they say that to your face.
Yes.
Like to you.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry on behalf of them. That is not okay.
Yes. I get emails all the time of like, hey, Martinus, you'll be such an amazing athlete. Like, if only you would just take yourself serious and like lose weight and like train to get faster. And me be like, well, why would I want to do that? Like, why would I want to like suck the joy out of something that I know when I'm lining up at the race, I'm running, I'm not going to win, I'm not getting any prize money, and I'm getting a participation medal at the end of it. So like, why really take myself so seriously to like put all of those constraints on myself and to fall in line with this when I already know that I'm not going to win and I'm getting a participation medal that I've already paid for.
Yes. Well, even if I am one of very few in that group, I am 100% with you. And it's funny having come from that world. And now I find myself like, I just want to be in the world with everyone else. I don't know what you do and don't know, but most of my races I run as a guide for visually impaired runners. And so I run with them and we're in the middle and in the back sometimes. And as you said about joy, the joy there is like unbelievable. And I've got actually an even more, if you'll entertain me with this. Last year I ran the Maui Marathon with a runner, and there were these two women who kept like running ahead of us. And we ran, I think Joe ran like 5:48 for that race. There were these two women that would run ahead of us. They would stop, they would take a load of pictures, we would pass them, and then they would run and go again. They would pass us, stop, take pictures. The old me was like, would have lost my mind. Like, what are you doing? Like, stop taking pictures. But in that moment, I was like, good for you. Like, do this how you want to do it. Like, I love the fact that you were just like out here having the time of your life, like stopping whenever you want, taking in the scenery. And it was such like, it's talk about a realization. It was such like a, wow, it's actually way more fun back here than it is up front where you're like tunnel vision and serious and like very tense. So yeah, I'm with you. And
road racing is very weird in the sense that like we get to run on the same course in around the same time as the professional athletes do. Like there's no other sport that I can think of right now. Like it ain't like you can go on a court and go play pickup basketball during the same time like LeBron James is playing basketball, right?
Yeah,
like
that's so true.
There's no time where you can like go get on the soccer field and like kick a ball around while like Messi's on the soccer field, right? But like running is the only place where you're able to be on the same course in and around the same time that the professional athletes are running. And I feel as if like elitist runners or like these other runners, they then get all hyped up and puffed up in their chest for them to make it feel as if like there's somebody bigger than what they are, which then puts like a bigger chip on their shoulder to like try to make other people feel down and oppressed about themselves when it comes to like speed. And my thing is this, like, if that's the case, only let the elite runners run then. Like, let the race just be 2 hours or 2.5 hours. You make this big event, you set up all this stuff, they run, and then everybody go home. But there's so much money to be made within like running in itself. Like most charities like make all of their budget from participating in like charity runs and charity races. So evidently, the people in the mid and backpack are important to the running industry because if that wasn't the case, you'll just see Elliot running and that's it.
Thank you to Tracksmith for sponsoring this episode of the Running For Real podcast. I am excited to say that I have now taken my Tracksmith items beyond what they had ever done before. I ran in them for my 50-mile ultra, and not only were they comfortable, I had no chafing, no even thoughts to my clothing. It didn't even cross my mind. I had my one chafing spot under my arm that I tend to get, but nothing to do with the clothes ever chafed in any of the 9 hours and 20 or 25 minutes I was out there. So now I am confident to say that Tracksmith clothing is wonderful for ultras. And you want to know what is even better? In this ultra, I wore a tank, the Bell Lap tank shirt. And I had never worn it before, as in I had just taken it out of the package and not washed it. And I wore this Bell Lap top brand new and I didn't have any problems with it. If that doesn't tell you everything, I don't know what is going to. So you, as a friend of mine, can get $15 off if you're a brand new customer, your order of $75 by using the code TINANEW by going to tracksmith.com/Tina. That's tracksmith.com/Tina. If you're a new customer, TINANEW. If you are already in love with Tracksmith, which everyone is once you try it, I know it's really easy to look at it and be like, yeah, it can't be that good. It really is. And an ultra in a brand new top, a brand new tank should tell you that. This is a sports bra, so it could have easily gone wrong. So using code TINAGIVE, if you are a previous Tracksmith customer, will give a donation to Track Girls on your behalf and also give you free shipping. Again, you can go to tracksmith.com/Tina to go check that out. Some of my favorite items, I wore the Lane 5 tights, those are tight short, which is what I wore on the bottom half. As I said, I wore the Bell Lap top on the top half. And they were both just incredibly comfortable. Some of my other favorites are the Session Speed shorts for the summer. And I also like the Alston bra. So go check those out at tracksmith.com/Tina. You will not regret it. And you will find yourself in comfort, clothes that last for many, many years. And just going to be a decision that you will be very glad you went with. And it is also a sustainable decision because the quality remains the same. Go check it out. I don't think it could survive if it was just that way. I don't think races could survive.
It wouldn't.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've never thought that through in that way, but you're right. I mean, I obviously knew that the majority of runners were the ones who covered the cost of everything. As someone who has had the benefit of getting all those like free trips and all this, like I knew that come from there. But that's such an important point to remember, especially for people who tend to think that you need to try as hard as you can. You need to leave it all out there for you to be valid. And I really loved the you called it a run, but I just felt like it was a really like pumped up section on like you are a real runner. I really enjoyed that. And I think that's such a good thing for people to read. Again, I talk about this a lot, but mine's a bit more fluffy, whereas you were like very direct, speaking to people's souls, which I loved. And why is it you think people need to be told maybe in that way of just like exasperation of like, you belong here, rather than it just being like, you belong here, Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes. So as a plus size individual, I feel like the world has told us we don't matter and like we're nothing because of our size, right? So I think about all the time somebody is like, fat slob, or like, why don't you just go lose weight or exercise more, or like watching my plate and things of that sort. So subconsciously, all of that stuff is running around in people's head. So especially when I'm talking about like the new people that I coach, like the first thing they're like is, Martinez, I'm not a runner. Like, I'm not a real runner like you. And it's like, you think of myself as a real runner? Well, let me tell you all the things that I've done, right? And I think that for a lot of people, we share all of these like successes of like, oh yeah, we ran all these races, like look all the medals, look at me bite down on my medal for Medal Monday. But we never talk about like the shitty aspects that happens through running, right? And I think by pulling the veil, thinking about Wizard of Oz, like, and just pulling the veil, and you see it like it's just somebody riding a bike and like shaking some tin metal. You can then see like, oh, this is not as scary as I really thought it was, right? So that's the thing I always trying to tell people. Hey, I've ran races. I've been pulled off the course because I've been too slow. I've gotten lost. I've ran out of water. Like, I've had all of these like horrible things happen to me. But yet the world did not open up and like swallow us all. And I was still able to like run another race the week later and finish.
Mm-hmm.
So, the fact of letting people know that the adversities that we go through makes them more of an athlete than not going through any adversities at all. Mm-hmm. And I think that for a lot of people, they just don't get it once. You just can't be like, oh, like you're a runner. Because then for most people, they're in their cycling, it's like, well, you're just telling me that to be nice. Like, oh, thank you for being nice. But you still think I'm not a runner anyway. You're just telling me this that way, right? And like, that's why I'm so vehemently of like, no, you are a runner. And here are the reasons why. And if you think I'm a runner, look at some of the failures, rejections, and things I hope to overcome to be in the place where you even think that I'm a quote unquote runner. And you too can overcome your own obstacles and your own rejections and still continue to run and participate in the sport. And you too can still be a runner as well.
For people who appreciate you sharing your vulnerabilities, the raw honesty that you share things, the failures that you've had, the things that you've mentioned so far that have happened to you being at the back of the pack. For those who think I'm just not strong enough to handle that, or like, if I got lost on a course because they took down a sign, I'd just give up. If they didn't give me the water, I'd probably just walk off the course. What would you remind people in terms of that, if they've got that fear of like, okay, that's one thing for you to do it, Martinus, but what about me? I'm not strong enough to do that.
I would say all of us are strong enough to overcome those things. But I will also say that all of this is just the sum of all our experiences, right? So by doing a hard thing and by experiencing a hard thing, you can then reflect on that hard thing and be like, oh, well, what I'm going through is not as hard, right? So me running Boston and like I ran that race and I got rhabdo. Like, like I ran the race, finished it, and then like got rhabdo, right? And me being like, yo, that was a tough race. But I also remember like, but even though that was a tough race, I've been through tougher. It's like, oh yeah, like, yeah, it was a tough race, but truthfully, it's not as tough as like Big Sur. Like Big Sur Marathon in comparison to Boston, Big Sur Marathon is a way tougher marathon than Boston. So like as I'm going through this experience and I'm like Heartbreak Hill, all this other stuff, these are gonna be big hills. I get there and I'm like, oh, this hill is nothing. And compared to like the big hill I ran on Big Sur. So using those experiences that we have, we can always like use experience in a previous to be like, oh, like this is not as hard as the other experience that I had. And when you see it in that sense, it's like, oh, like, yeah, I can continue to do hard things because I've been through harder.
Yes. For you, does the negativity that you receive, these comments that you shared about the what was it called? Support and gear wagon? Was that what it was called?
Yes.
In your first marathon, like those negative experiences, do you find they drive you forward? Do they hold you back? Do they kind of pass you like a cloud? Like, where are you at in terms of the negative comments that you do receive because of your body size?
Oh, Tina, I enjoy them. I have a sick
Love that.
and twisted way of just competition. My favorite athlete is Michael Jordan. And I just remember all the stories that he had. Like he was making a list. Like he was Ariana Stark before I even know who Ariana Stark was. And just making a list and being like, oh, like I took offense to that and I'm going to use that to prove you wrong. Right. And I'm the same way. Like somebody who's like adversary to me can really drive me to be like, oh, well, let me show you who I am and what I do.
Have you always been that way? Like since you were a child?
You can say that. It becomes a thing where, you know, at first it was like angry, right? Like, like who the hell is this person telling me what I can't do, blah, blah, blah. Like I'm going to go fight them, right? And you understand that you just can't go fight everybody. You can't fight everybody, but you can outwork them. You can prove them wrong, right? And I think that throughout my experiences in life, anytime I got a rejection or things of that sort, I actually just take a picture of it and like take and post it on my wall, right? Of like, look at all these people who think I can't do something and let me all prove them wrong. So I'm going to do this thing with the intention of proving this person wrong.
Does that allow you to celebrate when you do have accomplishments? Like, are you able to celebrate for yourself when you do these things like, your first marathon or doing something you've never done before? Can you actually reflect back and be proud of yourself? Or do you find it pushes you, the comments never stop, so you continue to drive forward and never get that chance to reflect?
No, I can definitely reflect on it now, right? Like I've been in this thing for 10 years. So I'm really able to separate the feeling from fact. And I think like that's where my competitive nature comes into play of like, oh, like I can use this, ruminate, get that feeling, and then like, okay, it's time for me to go to work. And then like after the work is done, I can celebrate that because the celebration is actually in the application of doing it, not that you've actually completed it. Because most people don't even do the things that they like set out to like accomplish. Or not me say set out to accomplish, but like who just like have an idea and then they don't move on it, and then the idea just disappears into the ether. So the celebration is actually in the application of doing it versus the actual completion of it.
Yes. I mean, that is a message that I'm continually trying to get across to people. And so does that mean you think we have too much of a focus? There's too much riding on, like we talked earlier about how people feel like you have to kind of give it your all. And that is because they put everything on the finish line rather than enjoying the journey along the way.
Yes, I completely agree.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is that for 99% of the people who's out there, we're all doing this for a participation medal that we're all going to get. It's not like our lives depend on this, right? Like our lives don't depend on like what place we finish the race in. So if that isn't the case, then like why take it so seriously versus having some fun with it and like having some joy, and then instead of sucking it out? Like I understand, like for the 1% of people who's like, all right, running is my career. Like I make money from being professional running, and like I need to do these things. I understand that. Like that's your job. But for everybody else who's just signing up and you're going to get the same medal and you're not going to get anything else out of it, like, you're just like anybody else. You just crossed the line faster than somebody else. But we all getting the same medal. It's like participation trophies for like Little League. Like, we're all going to get the same thing whether we lose.
Oh, friends, I cannot believe we are here. We are just a few months away from becoming a sustainable runner, coming out into the world. It is available on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble, on Bookshop, on Waterstones, at Target, all kinds of places. And if you are a runner, if you care about the planet that you run on, you can use running to change the world for the better. And we have worked really hard. Zoe Rome and I wrote this book together as a practical guide for runners of all abilities and backgrounds who want to take meaningful action to protect our planet through your love of sport. We weave together personal stories, research, expert input, and we illustrate how every runner can better support your own endurance journey and how you can use those lessons with environmental action. And when I say this, I don't want you to think this is going to be us yelling at you, telling you to never fly again. We make this really sustainable, just in terms of your own running, in terms of being connected to your community, in terms of planet. This is not going to be a lecturing type book. It's just giving you lots of suggestions. We worked really hard to make it real, to make it just relatable to average people, because I know there's so much out there, particularly in the climate space, that makes us want to bury our heads in the sand, right? It makes us feel like we're not good enough, that we're part of the problem. This book is going to make you feel like part of the solution. And I've also created other goodies, giveaways that I will be mentioning in the coming weeks. But if you can go ahead and pre-order the book, as I said, you can find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Bookshop, Waterstones, Target, and you can also request it within your local running store. Becoming a Sustainable Runner, written by myself and Zoe Rome. I would really love if you would check it out. We have an amazing quote come in from Malcolm Gladwell, which was, "I've been waiting a long time for a book that puts running in the broader context of our bodies, our minds, and our planet. Becoming a Sustainable Runner is that book." I'm so grateful for that, and all the others who have given us quotes. So go check it out, becomingaSustainableRunner.com. That's so true. That is so true. Although you just made me think, I remember reading a post of yours where you shared about other Black authors in the running world or endurance world that you have enjoyed books from. And you shared about Alison Desir, Myrna Valerio. And then there was another one. And then there was,
Goggins.
who was the other one? Goggins. Was Goggins the only other one? Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. And then there was Goggins. So what are your thoughts on him then? Because he's so intense. Like, how do you understand? Like, how does he inspire you when he takes everything to the extreme with his commitment to his pushing himself, you know?
So I guess the best analogy is that being smart enough to eat the meat and not the bone, right? Like, we all have to have discernment of, like, when I think about that, like, the thing that he gets, let's think about it as a chicken bone, like a piece of a chicken wing or a chicken leg, right? Like, that's the content that he's providing, right?
Okay.
For me, that's the same thing as a piece of chicken, right? Like, there's going to be meat there. There's going to be things that are juicy and tasty and like, you can get something out of that. However, there's going to be like the bone, the gristle, like the cartilage and all that stuff. And that might not be for you. So you leave that on the plate. And I think the same thing is true for Goggins, right? Like, I think some of the things that he mentioned can be inspiring. But I also know that, like, this dude is a military dude, and like his whole moniker is like being the toughest MFer on the planet. So, like, of course, if you're gonna be the toughest MFer on the planet, of course your stuff gonna be balls to the wall and like hard and things of that sort. And that's cool, right? Like, that's cool. That's you. But I can still find something out of that and find it useful, right? Like, you know, the whole thing of like taking your pain and taking like the things that you did or like that was done to you in the past and using that as motivation, I can take that. But now when you start talking about fat phobia and things of that sort, like, you know, it's like, well, that ain't for me. But I also, I dig deep into it to be like, well, like I understand where he's coming from, even though I don't agree with it. Like, yeah, I understand he was a plus size guy and things of that sort. Um, but I also understand that, it's all about this mindset thing, right? Like we're all providing like mindset or like motivation or those types of things. And it's just packaged in a very different way.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
some of the undertones can be the same.
That's true. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I hope that wasn't too intrusive there. It was just, I really struggle with his message and maybe it's because I come from a world of pushing myself and I don't want to do that anymore. I just really, for me, I'm like, oh no, I don't want to go there anymore. So thank you for answering that. Let's talk about your club, Slow AF Run Club. You wanted to create the place that you needed, the group that you wish you had, the content that you wish you had, kind of following the lines of what we were just talking about there. How did that feel as you started to see some traction and seeing people come around you? Like, what did you recognize before you even started this run club that this was going to be something people wanted? Or what was the moment that you thought, oh, wow, there's a lot of people here who have been kind of feeling lost and I'm providing that place for them?
Yeah, it's a mixture of stuff, right? I think the first thing, starting with the Slow Front Club is that how it came about, right? Like I was running a race and like this drunk dude was like yelling at me and being like, you're slow as fuck, man, go home. And me be like, but I'm running the race and you're just one that's on the sidelines drunk. So, like, as a big middle finger to him, like, I just started wearing shirts that had Slow AF across my chest. And for other people, like, that just became it just became like the most entertaining thing of like, I'm Slow AF too. And it went from that to people being like, hey, do you sell these shirts? It's like, well, I do now. And the first time I sold these shirts, I sold 500 shirts in one weekend. And it was that point there that I was like, I have something here. I don't know what it is, but I have something. And from there, I just let the people tell me. It went from, hey, I got this shirt, but like, you have a group or something? Like, is there a Facebook group? Like, I want to be amongst the people who also like bought these shirts because like we should all run together like, with these shirts. So it just kind of grew out of that of like, providing something that people already asked for. And it just fell in line with how I felt. Because during that time, like, of course, there's tons of different Facebook groups. Like, you have various groups for like slow runners or just just whatever, right? And one of the things I just found was like, even though it's for slow runners, there's still a lot of fast people in there or like quote unquote fast, right? So you got people that's in there that's like, I run a 10-minute mile. I'm slow. And me being like, you call a 10-minute mile slow? You can finish a 5K in under 30 minutes? And you call that slow? Man, you thought about running a 15, 16-minute mile? Thought about running an 18-minute mile? You calling a 10-minute mile slow? So, like, yeah, I did feel like I wasn't welcome there because they're like, oh, Martinez, you're not running, you're walking. It's like, no, I am running. So a mixture of all of those things, from like somebody heckling me to people buying shirts to being in these Facebook groups and me being like, this does not feel like a place that I want to be, nor when I'm running these races and I'm looking next to the person next to me and be like, hey man, this is hard, ain't it? And that person be like, yeah, like that person to me does not feel like they'll be in a group where people is like, oh, I'm running 10-minute miles and that's slow.
Yep. Do you find it helpful when people people are on the sidelines and they are kind of cheering or saying like, you got this and things like that. Like I've always found it interesting how runners tend to have a variety of like things that motivate them. And you say that you're motivated a lot by the comments people have made. Do you find it helpful when people kind of, like, you got this, keep going? I'd love to hear your thoughts there.
Yeah. There are times where I enjoy it, and like I'll give high fives. My favorite thing is to give high fives to the kids, right? Like I really enjoy
That's
that.
so fun. Yeah, me too.
So there are parts that I enjoy. Now the a-hole who's like, you're almost there, and I still got 10 more miles to go.
Yeah.
I can do without.
Uh-huh. Yes, that is fair. And tell us about, with this momentum building, with people coming up to you, with other people around you, selling the shirts, all of that. What did it feel like when Runner's World, I mean, I don't know if they called you or emailed you, but when they said about being on the cover, tell us about that moment for you.
So that experience, Tina, I wish I had like an amazing story, but it was very anticlimactic.
Oh, okay.
They reached out to me, they interviewed me, and I didn't even know I was even going to be on the cover. They didn't tell me. They was like, hey, we're going to send somebody out to like do some photos. And I've been a Runner's World before, like, and it was almost like run of a mill type of thing. The thing that I found out was like, yeah, bring a couple outfits. Like, we want you to wear various different outfits. I was like, okay. And as I was talking to the photographer, I remember being like, hey, like, do you think it's going to be a cover or is this going to be a spread? Like, I never had a Runner's World shoot and they tell me to bring multiple outfits. The guy was like, I don't know. So I went on with the photo shoot and literally like, I don't know, 10 days before the magazine came out, or no, maybe a month before the magazine came out, they sent me an email and it was like, hey, like, we're looking at some of your pictures and it's amazing. We might have you on the cover. Like, what are your thoughts? And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. Like, if I'm there. And I said, okay, like, we can't make any promises, but we just want to let you know, like, we're thinking of a few pictures that you took that we might be on the cover. Didn't hear from them until, I don't know, 4 days before the magazine came out.
Oh, wow.
And I was getting on the airplane and I remember sending them an email because my wife was like, hey, like, did Runner's World ever let you know you was going to be on the cover? And I was like, well, I didn't hear back from them, so I'm assuming I'm not. But I'll send an email. And I sent the email and they was like, oh, yeah, like, you're going to be on the cover. Here's the picture of it. Congratulations. It's like,
oh, dear.
When were y'all going to tell me? So it really wasn't like super exciting. Like, it wasn't like, guess what, Martinus? We got some great news for you. You're going to be on the cover. It was just more of like
16 days to go.
Yeah. It's like, you're going to be on the cover. Here it is.
So what about that moment though? Because of it being anticlimactic, did you not really take that in, or were you like, whoa, when you first saw it? Well, let's do when you first saw it in physical, like when you came across one. Be like, that's me to the person next to you.
It was like the longest 2 weeks of my life to find a magazine because, it was the like New Year's version of it. So, like they have a run rate, like, oh, magazines are going to be on sale on this date. And I remember going to like Barnes and Noble and like being excited, like my wife like was taking video of this, like, oh, like we're gonna make a reel out of this. And like get to the newsstand and they still had like last month's Runner's World there. And like I remember reaching out to the guy and being like, hey, like, where is the current version? And the guy from Barnes and Noble would be like, they come when they come. Like, what?
Oh, that's so funny.
So we went to a couple Barnes and Nobles. We didn't find it. And then randomly, I was at a grocery store in Michigan, and I was like, oh, like they sell magazines here. Like, let me see if they have it here. And I wasn't expecting them to have it, and then it was there, and I'm like, holy crap! Like that's me. Let me buy all of these.
Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry that didn't end up being in I think that's kind of popped a few balloons of people listening of imagining what that scenario would be like. But yeah, I mean, I guess it is what it is, and you can reflect on that forever. And it's funny. I texted Joe Robinson, who was on the cover from We Run 313 a few months ago when he saw it, and because I saw it in an airport, and I was like, "Oh, here you are!" And he was like, "Oh, I think it was the first time he'd actually he hadn't even seen a copy, and I just stumbled upon one in the airport." So it does seem very random about how they distribute them. So, but thank you for sharing that. Final thing I want to touch on here. Just tell us a little bit more for those who have been listening. They feel like, they're very interested now in terms of who you speak to, the book, who the book is for. They feel like they resonate and connect with you. Tell us a bit more about the book and who you wrote it for and why you made it.
Yes. So I wrote this book. I wrote the book that I wish I had when I started running 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I remember running, and like my wife gave me this book, and it just did not resonate with me. The pace charts stopped at a 13-minute mile. And for me, I'm like, oh, I'm running 15, 16-minute miles, right? Like it was about a elite athlete teaching like runners, or like teaching their readers like how to run like an elite athlete. And for me, none of that stuff in that book resonated with me. And it just really stuck with me throughout all of the years that I started running, was that this stuff does not resonate and it's not for me. And I need to find ways to make it for me. So I went on this journey, and I learned a lot of things. I became a run coach so I can train myself. I did all these things. I bought all the books on running just to take all the bits and pieces and nuggets that fit me, eat the meat, not the bone. And throughout all of these years, individuals would continue to come to me and say, hey, Martinus, are there other books out there that you would recommend? And most of the time my answer was no. The golden standard for running books is the Jack Daniels book on running, right? Like it's the book that the RRCA uses for like their coach certifications and things of that sort. And like just in the running world, period, when you're on Reddit, the forums, like they see that book as the golden standard for running. However, for mid-pack and back-of-the-pack people, that book is completely useless. Like V.02s don't mean nothing to me, right? 2 quality runs don't mean nothing to me, right? Doing all those drills don't mean nothing to me. What really meant something to me was like, hey, you're finna go on this run. Have you eaten? Right? Or like, hey, I wish somebody would have told me, hey, like you're getting chafed. Did you know there's this thing called Body Glide? Or like, hey, like why are you still running in cotton underwear? Or hey, there's this thing where like people eat and run at the same time, and they got like gels and chomps and chews, and like there's so many things out there to help you feel yourself on the run. And most of these books don't have that basic information.
Yeah.
So I wrote the book that I wish I had when I started to run, and put it in a palatable way that includes various stories that I endured and the lessons I learned the hard way, and provided people with like tangible running information that they can read and like go out and try right then and there.
Yes, and it was so needed, as you mentioned, and the fact of what you said about the shirts is just a good example of there's so many people out there who need to hear this, who want to read this, I'm really excited for the launch of your book coming very soon. We'll get to see how it does. And let me just say to the listeners, Martinus has been hustling hard to get this book everywhere. You have worked your butt off trying to get this book out there, to really speak to as many people as you possibly can about it, to really do it all yourself, which is quite impressive with how much you've put into this, because it's a lot of work beyond the book, beyond the audio, beyond all of that. Getting it out there is exhausting. So I applaud you, and I'm excited to hear how it goes and how many lives it changes for people who so badly needed your voice. So congratulations. I hope you are taking some time to celebrate what you have done so far and will continue to do. So people I'll put links in the show notes for people to go get a copy, pre-order, and order, depending on when you listen to this. Where else can people go find you?
They can find me all things the internet. So all things 300 pounds and running. That's 300. Spell out pounds and running. You can find it on Instagram, 300poundsandrunning.com. And then you can find me as well as slowafrunclub.com. That's where you'll find the book. That's where you'll find our community. We have an app on iOS and Android. So if you type in, pull out your phones right now and open the App Store and type in Slow AF Run Club, and you'll find our community of over 10,000 people who are also in the back of the pack. And, we do meetups, we do training plans, we do all that good stuff right in that community.
Amazing. Thank you so much for all that you do. I can't even imagine how many lives you've changed by showing people that they too belong. Just appreciate you and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Tina.
The Running for Real podcast and everything we do here at Running for Real would not be possible if it wasn't for the Running for Real team. While I am the person who you hear from most often and maybe the face of the brand, the rest of our team are such critical pieces of what we do. And without them, I think I'd just be running around in circles with ideas. So I want to take a moment to thank our team. To Jeremy Nessel, who's been with me since the very beginning. Kat McKay, Sally Pontarelli, Kelsey Wang, Sandy Gutierrez, Louise Murphy, Andrew Basola, Alexandria Will, and Maria Vargas. Thank you to each and every one of you for all that you give to Running for Real and our community. I appreciate you, and I'm so thankful for having you as a part of the team. Thank you so much for listening to that conversation. Be sure to go get yourself a copy of the book. I will be putting links in the show notes, which you can find at runningforreal.com/episode 353. Remember to join the Slow AF Run Club online. I will also have a link to that there, as well as how to find Martinus wherever you tend to hang out, I suppose. I want to also remind you that you can find links to our sponsors who, without them, we would not be able to continue this podcast. Athletic Greens, you can get a 1-year free supply of vitamin D3 and K2 plus 5 free travel packs with your order by going to athleticgreens.com/Tina. I also want to remind you to go check out Tracksmith. I just wore their clothes in my 50-mile ultra. No problems, no chafing. I even wore a shirt for the first time out of the package, not even washed, in that race, and it worked out great. So you can go to tracksmith.com/Tina. If you use code TINANEW, if you're a new customer, you can get $15 off your order of $75 more. If you are a returning customer, you can use the code TINAGIVE, and that will make a donation to Track Girls on your behalf and also give you free shipping. So that's Tina New and Tina Give. And finally, go pre-order Becoming a Sustainable Runner. Comes out August 18th. That is the biggest thing you can do to support Zoe and I. I'll put links in the show notes to that, all of that, at runningforreal.com/episode 353. Thank you for listening. I'll see you on Monday for a Together Run, on Wednesday for a For Real episode, and next Friday for a regular episode. See you then.